Alright, wasting no time, we are jumping right into the next one. This is the Aston Martin DB11 by Alpha Model. I just built their Ferrari, and if this thing is even half the kit that Ferrari was, then this is going to be a dream to build. That build went so smooth, I had no problems, so I have high hopes for this one as well. So right off the bat here, there is no box art on the top of this box. It's all on the sides. Not sure why I didn't get a cover decal, but that's okay. I'll just have to get inventive with the thumbnail for this video. I'll be honest with you, I have not looked at this thing. All I've done so far is open a box, pull out all the baggies apart, and then just number them just to make referencing easier later. But as my usual fashion, I'm just going to go through the box here real quick just to show you what's in it, and then we're going to look at each sprue a little bit closer. I mean bag. Each bag of parts a little bit closer. And like most of you, I'm sure we want to see this body, so let's get this guy unwrapped here real quick. And for some reason they chose packing tape to wrap this instead of Scotch tape like with the Ferrari. And I gotta give a quick shout out to Kirby Tool Company. I do love these hobby knife handles. And much like the Ferrari, the body, the interior tub, and the chassis plate, it was all wrapped up together. And immediately we noticed just how bare and plain the chassis is. But you know what, that's fine. It's a curbside kit that I have no plans to display upside down, so I don't really care what the bottom looks like. And I'm just a bit disappointed on the interior tub because the rear seats are molded in. I don't mind a bit of masking, but it's more work than I wanted to deal with. Oh, and it looks like the pedals are also molded in. So yeah, I'm guessing this thing is going to be right-hand drive only. You know what, that's okay too. I got that LFA this thing could sit next to. And finally, we get to see that beautiful Aston Martin body. For being a solid chunk of resin, this thing is noticeably lighter than a Ferrari was. Ah, yes, that is because there are a lot more openings in this one, so there is less resin. This all makes sense now. And unlike the Ferrari, I see that most of the body components, they're all molded in one piece. Now I don't mind a little bit of masking, but there's going to be a lot of masking involved here. Now I think I'm starting to see why everyone's only complaints about alpha models is just the panel lines aren't that deep. And these ones won't even catch my fingernail. I mean, I could see them, they're there, but man, they're so shallow. Wow. Oh well, that is enough of this thing for now. We have to move on. And inside of bag number 1, we have another bag. Alright, let's zoom in here. So inside of bag number 1.5, we have a whole lot of small little fiddly bits. I have no idea what these are. I think the things in the middle are for the mirrors, but I remember seeing photo etch for the mirrors. I don't know. And back to the original bag number 1, we have a whole bunch of clear parts. And this clearly is that super distinctive Astin and Martin tail light. And here we got 4 pieces, all roughly the same size and shape, so I'm guessing these are the headlights, the actual bulb inside of the headlight. And those, of course, were the lenses on the outside of the headlights. And bag number 2 here, it is just stuffed full of parts, man. Wow. Judging from what I could see though, it looks like it's just a whole bunch of interior parts. And yep, that's what we got. Clearly this is the dashboard. It's right-hand drive only, as we mentioned earlier. And the center console is kind of molded in. Yeah, more masking. Now, this dashboard, it may look kind of plain, but they were just not as ostentatious as the Ferraris. Aston Martin's always been kind of minimalist, in my opinion. They don't go for fancy. And the door cards here, yeah, just like I said, they're not that fancy. Yeah, it looks like we got some dies here, so it just means we got some photo etch that needs to be stamped into shape later on. And now next up, we just have a solid chunk of resin. Yeah, it's solid, alright. Not a clue. And then finally in this bag, we have our seats. They are a standard 2-piece affair, which makes masking just a little bit easier. I believe there's 3 different colors of these seats, if I remember right. At least the scheme I'm going with is 3 different colors. In the next bag, we have our wheels and tires. And it looks like they are indeed staggered. We have the wider tires on the rear. It's the old school hot rodder in me. I'd love to see that, man. My car, I got 3 15s in the backs and 2 45s up front. This is the modern day equivalent to the fats and the skinnies, or bigs and skinnies. I forget what they call it, but got a big old massive fat tire out back and a itty bitty thin little tire up front. And one thing I really do like here, there is no branding on these tires. And that's me. I like a nice smooth sidewall. These are perfect. I wish every manufacturer did this. I really do, honestly. And these are, of course, rubber. And there's nothing better to simulate a rubber tire than using rubber. And I kept zooming in here because I don't, are there lug nuts inside of here? They look kind of deep, but I don't, I don't know. We'll find out later. With bag number 4, we have another bag just stuffed full of parts. And that grill looks super fragile. Kinda worried. I'm taking my time here to make sure I could get to that grill safely, and I'm gonna set it off to the side. And we got a lot of parts that kind of broke themselves off the sprues, but these are the hubs for the wheels. And I was a bit confused at first as to why there's 2 locating tabs on that hub, but then I remembered this car has an external parking brake. And I do admit I am kind of surprised and shocked that even though these parts broke themselves off, they've all been clean brakes. It doesn't always happen. Speaking of the calipers, here is what I believe is the front caliper. It's big, so it's probably going to be a front. Yeah, this one's just a tiny tad bit smaller, so the bigger ones there I looked at first are definitely the fronts. And these are the mirrors, and looking at the way this mounts, I could tell why there's just a big hole in the A-pillar on the car. I should have absolutely no problem locating those. Nice and easy. The headlights here, they got a weird texture down inside of them that looks like a honeycomb. I'll be honest, I'm not all too familiar with this car. I should probably go do some research. And here is it. Oh, no. I'm trying to be careful. The good news is it's all in one piece. So, yeah, that's the grill. Now I'm going to set it off to the side where it will be safe for my hands. And we got the exhaust tips here. There are no turn metal parts in this like the Ferrari had. And we got one more piece that broke off here. Having a hard time picking it up, but it is the steering wheel. This, I believe, is the armrest for the center console, an overhead console, steering column maybe, and then of course the dashes, or the gauges I mean. I chew all my fingernails off, so sometimes I have a hard time picking things up. But yeah, that looks like that's going to be a steering column. And in here, not a clue. I'm assuming, well, those are seatbelt latches. Door pulls, maybe. The infotainment center. And I don't know what the rest of that is. That is the rearview mirror. Duh. Vents, maybe. Guys, I really have no idea what these small fiddly bits are. I'm going into this blind. I haven't even looked at the instructions yet. Now, I have looked at some reference photos, though. I think this offset thing right here, that is actually the mount for the rear view mirror. It looks really weird in all the photos I've seen. And I'm going to speed this up here a little bit. No sense in making you guys sit through watching me do all that. Alrighty, next up we have our only decals in this entire kit. Yeah, I said it earlier. I think I did anyway. This car has quite a bit of carbon fiber, and we have no carbon fiber decals. It's okay. I'm up for a challenge. Yeah, not a lot here. We got the front rear tags, the screens for the infotainment centers, the gauges. We also have the Aston Martin logos for the calipers, and looks like some trim for the steering wheel and the dashboard. And I do like that they gave us 2 different screens for the infotainment center. I like these cars to look like they're just sitting on the side of the road. So I don't like having them lit up with the GPS on. It doesn't look right. We also got some metal transfers. We got that trim ring that goes around the steering wheel, of course the mirrors, and some Aston Martin script. I don't recall there actually being any badging on the exterior of the car, so I don't really know where that goes. We'll find out though. And we got just some more metal transfers. This time this is for all the various Aston Martin logos on the car. And I do recall that Alpha Model also done the Aston Martin Zagato, if that's how that's pronounced. So some of these may be leftover mismatch cross between the different cars, so they only have to do one metal transfer sheet. Yeah, we are now getting into what is potentially going to be my favorite bag, the photo etch. If I can get it open. There we go, I got it. So just like the Ferrari, we got some flat acetate here, and these itty bitty little guys right there. Man, that looks fun to work with. And these ones don't really seem to be cut out as clean as the Ferrari, but that could just be the film on top of it too. We'll find out later when it's time to install them. And it's looking like this is that photo etch grill in case that resin one breaks. I hate making photo etch grills, so I'm going to be super careful with the resin grill. Now, I've done this voiceover about 4 different segments, so I watched somebody build one, so I know what most of these parts are now, but I don't want to go back and re-record all this. So it's going to be a surprise for you guys, but I know what a lot of these parts are now. Those small little squiggly bits, those are interior, and those slats, those actually slide into the body. That is that vent looking thing behind the front wheel. On the brass fret here, these are the vents that go around the rear exhaust. This is what those stamping dies we saw earlier are for. And this is a rather thick chunk of metal. I'm not sure how that stamping is going to go, but we'll find out. And on the polar opposite, we got this super thin flimsy one. From what I learned on the Ferrari, these are just going to be the backing plates for various decals to make sure they're flat and super smooth. I was going to point them out, but I moved my finger faster than I could talk, and I can't keep up with myself. I feel like I got to give all of these the flimsy test now. I don't know why. With this one here, we're finally going to get into all of our mesh and screens. Looks like we got our tail light backings. What else we got here? These little guys, I think these are for the gauges. That's a carryover from the last fret. Got some seatbelt stuff, some wipers. I hate making photo etch wipers. They always break on me, so I'm glad we got some resin ones. And I just noticed in the background, it looks like we got 2 of these tail light backings. Interesting. I thought again maybe they were a carryover from the Zagato, but it's got kind of a 4GT style tail light with all these ridges on it, and it's round. So I don't know why we got 2 of those. But on the sticker one here, we just got more backings for the various decals, more seatbelt hardware, and another Aston Martin script, all separated. I am not gonna line every single one of those up, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Not doing that. Alrighty, and on the left thread here, we just kind of have all the leftovers. We got our brake hardware, more windshield wiper stuff. And I do like how these rotors are a bit less complicated than the Ferrari ones. Some of them tabs broke off on me a lot, so I had to go in and paint all that silver detail. So yeah, this one should be a smoother, easier build. A little less detailed, but it should go smoother. And finally, we have our instructions. Let's zoom back out here so we could all see this. The instructions here, so far from what I could tell, they look to be better than the Ferraris. And by that, I mean not everything is smaller images on front and back of the pages. Instead, we just got one huge print off of the instructions. And I could finally see what just that random chunk of solid resin was. It looks like that is really just going to be a holder for the radiator mesh. And I'm doing this voiceover like 4 weeks after I'd done the unboxing, so I forget what I'm pointing at here. Like seriously, I'm kind of behind here. Like I've already got the body painted and cleared. It looks like I was right about that offset piece being for the rearview mirror. I have no idea why Aston Martin did that. It just looks stupid. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be using that resin grill. Looks like we got a ton of little photo etch pieces we have to put in there as well. So yeah, I'm using that resin one. Not really a whole lot to look at here, so I'm just going to pan through it somewhat quick. It's really just showing you a picture of the part with an arrow of where it goes. Basic assembly. See, and this is why I need to do the voiceovers like the same night. Because here I was like, oh hey look, that's what that photo etch for and those stamping dies. But here I am a few weeks later, I already know what they're for, and I mentioned it back when we looked at them. Alrighty, so again, not a lot to this one. It's just a full part count and just shows you where some of the various decals and emblems goes. So yeah, just pan through this one here real quick, just like the last time. Hopefully I don't stop to point at something because I forgot about it. That is it for this one though, guys. And as I stated earlier, I've already got the body painted and cleared. I just need time to edit the videos and do the voiceover. So keep an eye out.